Hey, it's Paul Bollenback, and I'm here today to talk to you about picking. I'm going to give you 5 or 6 different exercises that I found very useful over the years, both for maintenance, keeping your picking strong, and also for developing better coordination and probably potentially a better sound. But before we get into the details, I'm going to play a little bit for you on the C minor blues. There'll be a bunch of double time. I'm going to pick more than I usually do. I don't usually pick every note. You do use hammer-ons and pull-offs and slides and all kinds of stuff. But for the sake of this video and demonstration, I think it'll be useful. All right, let's see. You should be able to see everything pretty good. Yeah, here we go. Let's kind of go through these. They're basically 5 categories, and I wanted to talk a little bit about mechanics too. Just maybe out front, that's a good thing to discuss. Like, how do you hold the pick? Maybe some of you are having trouble deciding. I can tell you, it's possible to change your whole picking strategy and still maintain it. Sometimes your playing will do a little dip and then it'll come back up. When I'm changing things in my right hand or my left hand, these are mechanical, physical things, and I allow it some time to take effect. So, for example, those of you who may have followed my career over, the last 30 years or so, may have noticed that I'm now picking with the leading edge of the pick down, like this. And I won't waste your time with the story of how that happened, but I found it to be effective, although it's taken a while to really sink in, about a year, I would say. So if you're picking up, I call it leading edge meaning, say, the one that's to the left, going towards the neck. If that's up like this, and you have sort of a George Benson-ish style, that's cool. And if it's down like this, that's also fine. What you want to do is find the most comfortable way to do it. And a lot of times what you choose first is just what actually winds up happening. So, go with your instinct on this. Go with your gut, so to speak. All right, so let's get into some specifics in terms of how to work on this stuff. So the first thing is just single strings. The idea of getting a series of strokes on one string or even one tone, just to be able to do it effectively, relaxed, and evenly is very important. So I'll come back down here and let's see, get this up and running. So this is about 81 beats per minute. And I'm going to scooch this way a bit. So I'll use the high E string as my starting place. And I could just do something like this. Like, let's say I use alternate picking, and I do 4 or perhaps 8 attacks on each tone. And I'm just going to go up the neck this way. So I'll say open, and then index, second, third, fourth, just up to the 4th fret, and then back down. So it's kind of like a little chromatic shape. You could potentially do the whole neck this way, like sort of a shift chromatic kind of thing. So you're getting the chromatic scale up and down. If you have time, that's of course great to incorporate any exercise, but for our purposes, let's just do the first 4. So if I were to do this, let's say I'm going to say I have 4 choices in terms of how I pick. I'm going to pick either all downstrokes, all upstrokes, alternate picking starting with a downstroke, or alternate picking starting with an upstroke. Say, why do all these variations? Well, it's useful to have some, to not be locked in, I guess is what I'm trying to say. To not be stuck with when it's a downbeat you have to play a downstroke. That's actually can be very confusing for the hand. And sometimes when you're practicing a lot of downstrokes or a lot of upstrokes, it actually kind of eliminates the element of surprise, because you only have one way that you're doing it. It's either you're doing it or you're not. Sometimes when you're alternate picking, it can get confusing for the hand. So let's get into this here. Let's see. Go back with the metronome. So as I was saying, so I'll do eighth notes. So this is alternate, starting with a downstroke. 4 attacks per note. And I want to try and make it nice and even. It's hard for me to do when I'm talking, but you can certainly do it. Alright, okay. So what happens if I do all down? And of course I'm trying to be with the metronome. Up, all up. How about alternate starting with an upstroke? Up, down. So let me slow that one down for you a little bit, just because that's a little strange sometimes. And 2 and 3 and 4 and up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and 4 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and up, down, up. So my downstroke is on the upbeat, my upstroke is on the downbeat. Look, as far as the picking variations go, you know, you think if you're doing one string or one set of notes, you can do all downstrokes, all upstrokes, alternate picking starting with an upstroke, alternate picking starting with a downstroke. There are also things that you can do between the strings, for example, if you're going in between like that. And the variations might be something like down, up, so that's sort of the outside of the string, if you can check it out. Let's see, that should do it. So down, up, I think of it as being, it's a pretty far distance to travel, and that's maybe one of the most difficult ones, right? Down, down. You say, well, that doesn't do you much good when you're going back, and you're right about that, but it's great when you're going down. How about up, up, where you're going to say the same thing? It doesn't do you much good, except when you're going back like this. So that's worth practicing also. And then the fourth one would be sort of the in-between. In other words, if I, instead of doing alternate picking, down, up, which puts me on the sort of the outside of the string, if you will. If I do up, down, I'm kind of in the space in between the string, which is much less space. All right, so we need a left hand form. Let's find something fun for the left hand to do so that we don't get bored. Okay, something really, really simple and dumb. How about just fifths? I feel like, you want to work on your intonation that way, right? Or let's see, if I wanted to do a scale, I could do that. But let's do fifths. Okay, so I would do something like this. I'd say down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And I'm just moving up the neck chromatically. You can go as far as you want. The idea of just kind of getting it to work. Right? And then you go back down. And then I might do down, 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 down. Now I'm not worried about the notes ringing into each other. It's not really a concern. It's just to try and get the pick to move. How about up, up? So now look, I'm starting on the B string with an upstroke. And then I'm going to go to an upstroke on the E string. You might say, man, why would you do that? That's really cumbersome. But actually it's not when you go back, as I said. So look. Up, 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 up. Ah, terrible sound. So I'd want to work on that a little bit. I can see my hand is kind of flopping around. So this is one, if I was to make a list of stuff to work on, I might say, yeah, I need to spend some more time with that. If you don't like the fifths, try this. This is kind of fun. Like you do a sort of a scale in thirds. So you could start with maybe an E major scale, so start with like C sharp and E, and then your next one might be D sharp and F sharp, your next one might be E and G sharp, and straight on up the scale like this. It's kind of pretty, you know, so then you'd be doing like, say, up, up. Ah, good for coordination too. And you would do this with a metronome. So now what about, I'll use that one, and what about the inside? So up, down. So up on the B string, down on the E string. Yeah, do 4 repeats. Sounds like maybe I'm in Venice or something. Like I said, I'm not worried about the separation of the notes. It's simply to get the right hand working a little bit. So you can extrapolate from this, right? You can kind of take what I've got and run with it. But basically, you could do these things. So I've got my B flat major scale, so I could do my 4 3 2 1. 1 2 3 4 2 2 3 4. So I'm just going up the scale, right? It's almost like some mandolin stuff. 3 notes. So this is all the same stuff that I did on 2 strings from a moment ago, right? So I'm not going to go through all the detail with that. 4 3 2 1. When you get to 1, you've got the same things: all down, all up, alternate picking starting with a downstroke, alternate picking starting with an upstroke. But I like to do some additional things with 3 notes on a string. I like to do the different combinations of picking and slurring. So if I have 3 notes, I pick and then slur these 2. So that's kind of like you're only picking once for each string. Then I could pick these 2 and slur the last one. So you're picking twice, but the last one is a hammer-on or a pull-off. And then I could slur the first 2 and then pick the last one. So let's see what each one of those sounds like and looks like. So there's both hands here, and this is B flat major, 3 notes on a string. So pick, hammer, hammer, 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 pick, hammer, hammer. And then when I go back, I'm going to pull off. And I might use upstrokes, right? Pick, hammer, hammer, pick, not hammer, pick, pull off, pick, pull off, pull off. So you get this. If you get good at it, it's what we're talking about. Now how about pick, pick, hammer, pick. Has a little different feel. So that's pick, hammer, pick. Okay. The other one that I like to do is what's called, some people call it economy picking, sweep picking. Basically, if you can do 3 notes on a string, you could do this pattern when you're going towards the floor where you're ascending in pitch, where you say down, up, down. And when you go into on that last downstroke, you go directly to the next string. So that looks like this. And some of you may do this proficiently already, but 1, so down, up, down, and I'm into the next string, right there, right there. Down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. Now when I get to the top, I'm probably going to want to repeat that so that I can go, I'll play that E flat with an upstroke, and I'll do up, down, up, and look, my pick goes into the B string. Up, down, up, pick goes into the G string, up, down, up. So if you're new to this and you want to do it, I think I did it in my little blues thing where I played something like, probably cleaner than that, but very useful for playing quickly. If you want to do that, what you could practice is something like this. So I'm getting my pick on the next string. You can see it. And then you kind of do it together. You could do it. You want to do it slow and rhythmically. You don't want to just blast it, of course. You know, you got to get some control first. That's the first thing. The next thing is something that I've done for many years, and I always wind up coming back to it. It's one of those things that it seems like it's effective, and when I find my chops are kind of feeling low or not so strong, I'll do this. The idea is to have different numbers of attacks on each tone. It's kind of like the single string stuff, but it's going within a scale or an arpeggio. So if I do 3 notes on a string, for example, and I were to do, or even let's back it up. If I do 2 notes on a string and I take my little thing that I had a second ago on C minor, so this sort of going across the neck this way, and I do 4 attacks. So I'll do alternate picking for all of this. I'll do it with a metronome, which, let's see, do I have that? Yeah, I do. I did. There it is. Good. So I'll do like, that's 8. So maybe I should do 8 notes because that's quick. 1 and 2. So that's all alternate picking. Four attacks on each note. I can do the same thing with 3 attacks. Now, whether I choose to do it, which is now doing alternate, right? So every other one starts with an upstroke. I could also do it as 3 notes on a 3 attacks per note, and do it like more like 8 notes. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, which is a nice sort of a polyrhythmic thing. And when you go back down, you could do the same pattern, or you could switch the direction. Like you could also do go in the opposite direction, right? The idea is that you could actually do this with anything. If I did 2 notes. That's very useful. How about if I did 1 note? Well, at that point, then I'm into... So now I could do all downstrokes, all upstrokes, alternate starting with a downstroke, alternate starting with an upstroke. Any of those are useful, especially if you do them in that kind of an order, like the single direction ones, all down or all up first, and then the combinations of alternate, starting with a downstroke, starting with an upstroke. Now that's 2 notes on a string, and kind of whittling it down. 4 attacks per note, 3 attacks per note, 2 attacks per note, 1 attack per note. If you were to do it on an arpeggio, for example, like this one, like let's say I take a B flat major 7 arpeggio, I'm going to do it here starting from A, so I'll do A, B flat, D, F, A, B flat, D, F, A, B flat. So 6th string 2 notes, 2 notes on the A string, 2 notes on the D string, 1 note, and then 2 notes. And the fingering, 1, 2, 1. I'm trying to get the other fingers out of the way so you can see. 1, 4, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right. That's what we're looking at. So for the right hand, you're going to be talking about so that's 4 attacks. How about if I did 3 attacks? Now this is, funny because it's still 2 notes on a string, isn't it, for the most part? Two. And then when I get to 1, now I have my 4 possibilities. All down, all up, really need to work on that upstroke. Alternate starting with the down, alternate starting with an up. Now, obviously, doing these repetitively is going to be very useful for you. So you can see we're combining the hands. It's like kind of seeing which one, you know, how to make them coordinated, as well as just tacking down what the right hand is doing. So I hope this is helpful for you. It's kind of a lot of information. You can refer to the sheet that's got the list of stuff on it. And there's going to be more on some specific things that revolve around this, like different kinds of slurring patterns and stuff that I work on. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Hopefully I can answer them for you. Have a great time. Go practice. Have fun. See you soon.